spark ignites the heart. But if we turn when justice calls, the chains we forge will bind us all. When truth is silenced, when lies take hold, the cost is freedom, the soul grows cold. No one stands tall while another must fall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, defending every voice, defending every right. For the moment we falter, the moment we stall, we lose our own freedom when we let others fall. You can't stand free while others kneel. When justice fades, it's freedom they steal. An innocent condemned, a crime unspoken, and with it the bond of liberty is broken. No tyrant rules without our consent. Oppression thrives where silence is spent. Stand for the weak, the silence is small, or freedom will crumble for us all. We're mavericks of freedom, guardians of the light, fighting for the truth, for what is just and right. For the rights of one are the rights of all. We rise or we fall by answering the call. Even those we may oppose deserve the rights we all uphold. For if we deny them what is fair, we build our own prison in despair. The fight's not easy, it never will be, but justice for one is the key to be free. We stand as mavericks, together we strive, defending the rights that keep freedom alive. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, upholding every truth, protecting every right. When one is oppressed, we're all in the thrall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. So take a stand, let your courage rise. Defend the truth, don't compromise. For the soul of the world, the writing's on the wall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for
Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Okay, so we've got so much going on. We're going to go live in just a moment to Brampton, Ontario for tonight's Pierre Poilievre Conservative election rally. We've got a live feed coming out of there. We're going to take you to London, Ontario, where Maxime Bernier addressed today the immigration issue and outlined his plan with more detail. We're going to talk about Trump tariffs. He has paused them. Back down, I would say. Others say, oh, no, it's the art of the deal. I'm not so sure. But there's a lot to talk about, and we'll try to get to the phones as well. So, also, thank you for the words of support last night. Meant more than you know. In the face of disheartening attacks. Thank you for the support. Stay with me. On the other side of this, we'll go live to Brampton and Pierre Poilievre.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, the election in full swing. We didn't get to carry the Mark Carney speech last night. He started later, after. And I think the same sort of thing is happening tonight. Maybe we'll be able to get both in. But Pierre Poilievre about to come up on stage in Brampton in just a moment. The rally is already underway. Let's go there live now, shall we?
Just 10 minutes down the road on Goreway, there was a Tim Hortons. 3 brave police officers pinned in a stolen Ford Bronco.
This is a former police
that
officer.
person had been arrested 6 times in 6 different stolen cars.
Obviously.
Held for bail every single time. Guess what? He's out again. These are the liberal policies that this country cannot live with. Here in the region of Peel, from last year to this, home invasions are up by 306%. 306%. Shootings are up by 80%. A police officer here in the region of Peel, every 32 hours on average, seizes an illegal firearm smuggled here through from the United States. 85% we know we can source back because we have the serial numbers to source it back to the U.S. The other 15%, they also come from the U.S. We just have the serial numbers filed off, so we can't prove it. But I'm proud to stand here today and say that the Peel Regional Police Association is here to make a change. Make a change with all of you and support a leader who will make this better. Pierre will restore mandatory minimums. He will slam the revolving door of criminality and put violent offenders where they belong, behind bars. It is no longer acceptable for them to be out on our streets. He will put victims before criminals. He will put families before politics, and he will put safety before ideology. My friends, this isn't about right or left. This is about right and wrong. So let's take back our communities. Brampton, let's bring it home.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Adrian Woolley leading the charge in the entire country. Bring it home. Bring it home. Bring it home. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in just a few minutes, we're going to kick this off. So get your cell phones ready, get your signs ready, get that energetic chant ready, because we're going to kick this off with a few guest speakers, and then we're going to get to the one and only Pierre Poilievre. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Okay, so let's just take a brief break from that. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll go back live when the action resumes. And so for now, we will start talking about the other top stories of the day. What a weird, weird time we're living in. Trump today did a 180 on these tariffs, pausing these reciprocal tariffs, pausing them. After all this crazy chaos, he backtracked on these destabilizing economic policies that he has, instituting a 90-day pause for most affected nations, except for China. Yeah, he still has his sights set on China. Here's, let me just show you this first. This is what he posted on Truth Social. And the markets are in chaos. Up and down like a yo-yo. Here's what he posts here. Based on the lack of respect that China has shown the world's markets, I am hereby raising the tariff charged to China by the United States of America to 125%, effective immediately. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. Conversely, and based on the fact that more than 75 countries have called representatives of the United States, including the Departments of Commerce, Treasury, and the USTR, to negotiate a solution to the subjects being discussed relative to trade barriers, tariffs, currency manipulation, and non-monetary tariffs, and these countries have not, at my strong suggestion, retaliated in any way, shape, or form against the United States, I have authorized a 90-day pause and a substantially lower reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, also effective immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So that's posted today. The whole darn thing is confusing. So are they on, off, still at 10%? What the heck is it? I don't know. I think they're off. That's basically, I think, where we're at. On all the countries that did not retaliate, they're off. That's what many outlets are reporting tonight. He said that he's doing this because people were getting a little bit afraid, a little bit queasy. Let me show you we'll run this clip. Here we go. Trump. Sorry. We're going back to Polyev in just a moment.
Going to be made with China. A deal's going to be made with every one of them. And they'll be fair deals. I just want fair. They will be fair deals for everybody. But they weren't fair to the United States. They were sucking us dry, and you can't do that. You know, we have $36 trillion of debt for a reason. We don't have it there for fun. They have it for a reason. And people took advantage of our country, and they ripped us off for decades. I've been thinking about this for decades. If you ever saw me on television, I was young like these guys. And it was the good old days, I'll tell you, Roger. But I was like these guys, young, and I was talking about it. Nothing changed, and nothing was done about it. Then I did it. In my first term, I did it, and did it well. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China and others, and I started the process. But then we had to fix up from the COVID mess caused by China. We had to fix up from that, and we did a good job of doing it. And when we handed back the reins after a rigged election, and when we handed back the reins, the stock market was higher than it was before COVID coming in. So, you know, we did a great job, but we didn't have time to do the big thing, which we're doing now. And it's, it's like a patient is sick. You have to do surgery. Patient is very, very sick.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, this is all weird. It's crazy chaotic. Stock market rebounding today after pretty much crashing. I think since April 2nd, the markets have lost somewhere in the neighborhood of $5 trillion, but recovered substantially today. And then, but hey, you know what? If you're not in tune with all this, it's only because, according to Caroline Leavitt, the Trump press secretary, it's only because you're not seeing the art of the deal. Let me bring this up. It's only because you're not seeing how super incredibly intelligent What a great deal maker Trump is. Here we go.
Excuse me, Raquel, if I could just add to what the secretary said. Many of you in the media clearly missed the art of the deal. You clearly failed to see what President Trump is doing here. You tried to say that the rest of the world would be moved closer to China when in fact we've seen the opposite effect. The entire world is calling the United States of America, not China, because they need our markets, they need our consumers, and excuse me,
I just... the word that comes to mind immediately is rigged. Trump rigging everything. You know, a planned economy is a rigged economy by definition. And this is a guy who's supposed to be a Republican. Republicans have traditionally been more free market oriented, less government intervention. And what are we getting here? We're getting like total government intervention. Tariffs are not about free trade. They're not about free markets. And this is what we're getting from him. But worse, because they're on, off, on, off. We don't know what's going on. Even the messaging coming out of the White House today, still confusing. With regard to Canada, we're being told that Canada is basically exempt from most of this. And then at the same time, we're getting another message from someone at the White House today that that 10% still applies to Canada. And then we're told it's not. I can't even sit here tonight and really give you a clear picture of what is really happening. All I can say is the markets did rebound today. And as a result of that, some people are thinking, you know, that maybe there's some insider trading going on. So much so that, see if I can find you the clip here. I have so many things lined up. Adam Schiff saying they're going to investigate to see if any insider trading has actually been happening. Here he is here. Okay. And I've been saying this for a while. Johnny from Toronto, we talked about this. I think he was on the show talking about it with me. Yeah, if you know when the market is going to crash, you know when to sell and you know when to buy. And if you're on the inside getting information, then you know exactly what's going on. And Marjorie Taylor Greene under great scrutiny tonight because she recently converted some stocks into treasury bonds, I guess, and just at the right moment. Here's Adam Schiff, not Trump's favorite guy, and Trump isn't Schiff's favorite guy.
How concerned are you with this market fluctuation, and are you concerned that there could be members of the White House that are benefiting from it?
Absolutely. I'm writing to the White House to demand who knew in advance that the president was going to once again flip-flop on tariffs, and are people cashing in? There is just all too much opportunity for people in the White House and the administration to be insider trading, and you can't put it past them for a minute. So we're going to try to find out.
There's a good chance they'll just ignore you, though, right? Should there be some other independent investigation into this?
Well, I think Congress should do an investigation into this, but we're going to demand answers from the administration. I think you're right. They're likely to stonewall, particularly if they've been engaged in corrupt insider trading. But they won't be able to hide it for good. I mean, we know who's in the administration. We can look at eventually what people are buying and selling. This will come out. But an administration that has their own meme coins and is already engaged in self-interested dealing when Elon is doging agencies that are doing oversight of his own businesses, in that kind of corrupt climate, you have to assume the worst, and we're going to try to find out.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry, but yeah, I don't normally align with him on much of anything, but wow. What's been going on with these tariffs and the markets and Trump's behavior, the way he talks, the information that he signals. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you don't even have to be blatant, like you don't even have to be secretive about it. He's just putting it right out in the open. And so all you need to know is when. When are you going to do this, Donald? And then you run over there, and just before he introduces the tariffs, bam, you sell. And then when the market bottoms out, craters, you buy back with your cash. And then you ride it all the way back up to the top. And with these kinds of swings in the market, some people are getting filthy freaking rich at the expense of a lot of other people, as pension funds rode it to the bottom, and trillions of dollars in value wiped off the the valuation sheets, just gone. And then within 24, 48 hours, pow, back up like a yo-yo. Wow, this is incredible. Darn right, there should be some investigations to see if there's any insider trading going on. And here's the irony in it. Mark Carney, on the Canadian side of all of this, was asked, was it yesterday we ran that clip, if he knew what was going on with his investments. And of course, he's had to put his investments into a blind trust. So this is a guy who's being accused of, some say tax evasion, but I think the more accurate phrase is tax dodging, because it's not necessarily a crime, but it may not be ethical what he's doing, which is a bit of a slightly different question. But the thing is here, he says, well, I know that my stocks are going down. Yesterday, I think it was, he said that. And of course they are. And there's nothing he can really do about it, because it's hands off now, because he's in the position of prime minister. So he had to put those assets into a blind trust. He doesn't manage them himself. So while all of this yo-yo stuff is going on, he can't touch his investments. So I think he probably took a bit of a bath, but now they're coming back up. So as long as whoever is managing them didn't sell them, he may recover some of what was lost, like a lot of other people. That's why you shouldn't panic in these situations. Whenever the market crashes, or whenever it dips like that, these things tend to be an overcompensation. There's emotion built into the market, because people tend to panic and they get caught up in the momentum, either selling off or even riding it high. And so when it does dip like that, you shouldn't panic. Like, don't sell at the bottom, generally is the rule. And I'm not giving you financial advice directly, because I'm not a certified financial planner, and you should seek professional advice before you make any investment decisions. Don't just take it from me. I'm just saying that the rule of thumb is, when the market crashes, that's when you buy. If you buy low, don't sell at that point if you've held on to your stocks, as long as you're invested in blue chip investments that are low risk, and the companies are still stable and not likely to go out of business. You just ride it out, because they generally do bounce back to some degree within a day or so, because people build emotion into those decisions. As it's crashing, people panic, and then you get a big sell-off, and it crashes further than an actual market correction calls for. But man alive, I'm telling you. When I say man alive, I mean it's been a killer week or so. Unbelievable. So what do we know? Let's just try to recap this. So we know that Trump has changed his tariff policy again today. He paused what he was calling reciprocal tariffs for many countries around the world for 90 days. After saying, no exceptions, these things are here to stay. And now here we are today. No, we'll pause them for 90 days. And then, so we know that the White House initially said the flip-flop would leave Canada with another 10% baseline tariff, but then they changed that and flipped on that too during the day. So I think they're off. And so in the end now today, I don't think there are any actual changes to tariffs on Canadian goods for now. And there's still confusion in the public about it, what it means for the auto industry. And we know that the USMCA trade deal means that any vehicles produced in Canada that are USMCA compliant in terms of content requirements, which I think is like 75% North American parts, that they will not be subjected to any of these tariffs. And then Mark Carney is saying that negotiations between the U.S. and other countries will fundamentally change world trade. I also saw Steve Bannon on an interview that just came out within the last day talking about China reshaping the world, reshaping world trade, really focusing a lot on China. And you're seeing that from Trump as well with these like heavy tariffs. And his ultimate goal is still not entirely clear, but it looks like he just really wants to negotiate new trade deals with everybody. But I'm not sure. Or it could be that he really was crashing the market on purpose so that his oligarch buddies, his rich billionaire friends could sell high and buy low and then ride it back up to the top, getting rich. That's entirely possible, too. It's not far-fetched at all, because stock market soared today again after investors heard about the global reprieve. Oh, my goodness. This is a yo-yo ride or what? All right, let's go back to Brampton. Pierre Poilievre on stage now. We just have to wait for the music to end so we don't get nailed with a copyright strike. He's up there with his wife, who continues to introduce him at all of these events. And here we go.
Hello, Brampton! Wow, look at this.
And sorry but not sorry to all of our American viewers. There's
Who's
a Canadian
ready to vote for a change?
federal election on. We gotta cover it.
Who's voting to axe some taxes for a change? Who's voting to build homes you can afford for a change? Who's voting to stop the crime for a change? And who's voting to put Canada first for a change? We sure need to put this country first, now more than ever, my friends. Before I get into the subject today, which of course is to announce the biggest crackdown on crime in Canadian history, I have to address today's latest disrespect by President Trump of our country. While President Trump announced a 90-day pause on tariffs for dozens of countries, he kept those tariffs in place on Canada. Take that in for a moment. Almost every country in the world got a pause on American tariffs, but not us, America's best friend. Our steel workers, aluminum workers, auto workers, lumber workers hit again. This after Prime Minister Carney boasted that he had a, quote, productive phone call with the president. He said that he had made progress with the president. What progress? What progress do the auto workers in Brampton and Windsor and elsewhere in Canada today see? Now, to be clear, I'm not blaming Prime Minister Carney for President Trump's tariffs. These tariffs are uncalled for and unjustified. And no one can control this president. But that's precisely the point. Prime Minister Carney is running his entire campaign on a false promise that he can control the president through magical, masterful negotiating techniques Well, we know now that that is not true. Nobody can control this president. And while I will move quickly to negotiate an end to tariffs with protections for Canadian sovereignty as quickly as possible, we need to focus on what we can control. And this is what we can control, my friends. We need to reverse the disastrous liberal economic policies of the last 10 years that made us so dependent on the Americans in the first place. So the choice in this election is not, as Mr. Carney would ask you, to overlook an entire decade of rising costs and crime and falling economy that is under the thumb of the Americans simply because he promises that somehow he's a master negotiator. No, he can't control any of that. What we are deciding in this election is, can we afford a fourth Liberal term of rising costs and crime and a weakened economy? Or is it time for a change with a new Conservative government to unlock our resources, cut our taxes, build our homes, and strengthen our country so that we can face the Americans from a position of strength? That's the choice in this election. Aujourd'hui, le président Trump nous a respectés encore. Il a annoncé une pause de 90 jours sur les tarifs douaniers visant des douzaines d'autres pays. Mais il a gardé en place les tarifs sur le Canada. Nos travailleurs de l'acier, de l'aluminium, de bois d'œuvre, de l'automobile. Pensez-y, lorsque Donald Trump a donné une pause aux douzaines d'autres pays, le Canada continue de payer. M. Carney a dit que son appel avec le président Trump a été productif. Il y a eu des progrès. Mais quels progrès? On a toujours plus de tarifs que quand M. Carney est devenu le premier ministre du Canada. Mais je ne blâme pas M. Carney pour ça. C'est M. Trump qui est à blâmer. Personne ne peut le contrôler. Mais la promesse principale de M. Carney de pouvoir contrôler M. Trump avec des grands pouvoirs de négociation, c'est une fausse promesse. On doit se concentrer sur ce qu'on peut contrôler, c'est-à-dire de renforcer notre économie. Et ça va prendre un renversement total des politiques libérales qui ont augmenté les coûts et ont fait baisser notre économie. Avec il faut un nouveau gouvernement pour un vrai changement afin de renforcer notre économie ici au Canada. Donc, le choix dans cette élection, est-ce qu'on veut un quatrième mandat des libéraux qui augmentent les coûts et la criminalité tout en affaiblissant notre économie, en même temps qu'ils ont échoué, ou bien est-ce qu'il faut que ça change avec un nouveau gouvernement conservateur qui va couper les taxes et les impôts, bâtir des logements abordables et renforcer notre économie pour faire face à Donald Trump avec la force? It's the same liberal gang asking for your support for a fourth mandate. The same liberal gang that raised your taxes, drove up inflation, doubled housing costs, unleashed crime and chaos in our community. 40-year highs in inflation, the worst housing inflation in the entire G7. 50% more expensive to buy a house today in Canada than in the United States. In fact, you can buy a castle in Sweden for a lower cost than a house in Kitchener after the lost Liberal decade. The carpenters who build the homes cannot afford to live in them. My friends, those homes are now in increasingly dangerous neighborhoods as crime and chaos overtakes our communities as a result of radical catch-and-release Liberal policies. So the choice in this election is whether, after a lost Liberal decade of rising crime and costs and a falling economy under America's thumb, we can afford to give the Liberals a fourth term, or whether it's time for a change with a new Conservative government that will put Canada first for a change. And we know where Canada's police stand. we were very pleased to receive the endorsement of Adrian Woolley, the president of the Peel Regional Police. Thank you very much, Adrian. Come on up here. Thank you very much. Thanks for backing me up. Do you have a message to Canadians from the great men and women who put on the uniform in your membership?
We couldn't be happier to support you, Pierre. We need a change. Our streets are overrun with criminals. They don't. The Liberals do not look after our police officers. They put criminals first and Canadians second, and we can't take it anymore.
It's time for a change.
It is absolutely time for a change.
And thank you for fighting for the great police officers who put their lives on the line every day, who kiss their kids goodbye in the morning not knowing if they will return. Those are the heroes that keep us safe. And I want to thank the Durham Police Association, the Barrie Police Association, the Sault Ste. Marie Police Association for endorsing Canada First Conservatives, my friends. Thank you to the police. I love you too, my friend. God bless you. Thank you. I love all of you guys. Thank you. And if you, thank you very much. That's a very important cause, autism and many more. And if you had doubt at all the courage of our police officers, let's look back to 2022. 2 days after Christmas near Brantford, OPP Constable Greg Pershella was shot and killed. The accused, Randall McKenzie, had a long history of convictions for violent crime, but guess what? He was out on bail. He had already attacked his ex-girlfriend and been caught with an illegal firearm. He'd been denied bail at first, but then the judge changed his mind and turned him loose. These are just one of the many examples that if we look over to 2018 in Mississauga, a 14-year-old boy, Riley, was killed by two brothers, one of whom was out on bail for robbery, death threats, and violating other bail conditions. So he violates the bail conditions, and they let him out on bail again. 5 years later, they pled guilty to the lesser offense of manslaughter, which the family rightly called a denial of justice. And then if you turn the page to the next story, you have Darian's grandparents, Flo and Paul, who are here today. In Brampton, Darian was a beautiful and beloved young woman from a loving family whose life was taken tragically 5 years ago. The accused was an ex of hers who was out on bail for weapons charges, violence, and breaking contact orders with her. Unbelievably, as we gather here today, he can apply for bail again. No family should have to face that. And then there's Tori Stafford. In 2009, Michael Rafferty and Terry Lynn McClintock murdered Tori just a few months shy of her 9th birthday. Despite being sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 25 years, the Carney-Trudeau Liberals let Rafferty move to a medium security prison, and McClintock was moved to a healing lodge in 2018. A move that was only reversed because of strong pressure from Conservative members of Parliament in the House of Commons. Now, this radical wave of crime is not happening by accident. These radical decisions are not being simply handed out by judges. They are being imposed by catch-and-release laws of the Liberal government. They have passed catch-and-release bail C-75. They passed C-5, allowing a house arrest for the worst offenders. They reduced criminal penalties and sentences for the following crimes. Get this. Get this. I want to go through the list. Using a firearm in the commission of an offense. Possession of a firearm, possession of prohibited and restricted weapons, possession of a weapon obtained by the commission of an offense, stealing a gun, really, weapons trafficking, possession for the purposes of trafficking, importing and exporting weapons, discharging a weapon with the intent to harm somebody, discharging a firearm recklessly, robbery with a firearm, extortion with a firearm, unlawful sale and distribution of tobacco products, Controlled and Drug Substances Act, trafficking, possession of illegal substances, trafficking, exporting for the purposes of exporting. We've got production of controlled substances like fentanyl, that literally you can kill someone with 2 milligrams of this stuff. And the Liberals, all of those offenses, they have reduced the penalties to release these offenders into our streets again and again and again. Now, let me be clear. Every single Liberal MP and minister running for re-election under the Carney Liberals voted in favor of every single one of these soft-on-crime laws. Do not let them fool you. They all voted for catch and release bail. Now, that means that the same 40 offenders in Vancouver were released and were able to be rearrested 6,000 times. 40 offenders arrested 6,000 times. Each and every one of them would have committed crime on average once every 2 days, every 2 days for an entire year. Now, we have Ron Chinzer here. Come on up here, Ron. Police officer. Ron is running for us in Oakville, but he's Oakville East, but he is a long-time police officer, including for Peel. Yes, sir. And tell me what you've seen from catch and release under Liberal Bill C-75.
If I were to explain to you and have you live the life of an average police officer just over the last 6 years, ever since Bill C-75 came in 2019, it would keep you up for decades. And it's terrible. We have families who have lost their loved ones, their kids in their own household from fentanyl overdoses, and police officers and first responders have to tell the family. We have repeat violent offenders committing murders, carjackings, home invasions, and when we catch them, we have to tell these innocent Canadian victims, good people with their family, their loved ones in their house, that the person who did this was on bail. And we're trying everything we can do to keep this person in custody, but this Liberal government has always led them out. That heartbreak was the reason why I got involved with Pierre Poilievre. I had been lobbying to government as an independent police officer to say, please bring back common sense. And out of all of the politicians I had met, years ago I'd met with Pierre Poilievre. He was the only politician to ever ask me, how do we fix it?
And Ron, I'm happy to say that we will fix it. A Canada First Conservative government will repeal catch and release bail and end C-75. We will repeal the house arrest law. House arrest allows the same repeat car thieves. Have anybody had their car stolen here? Yeah. Okay, sorry, let me rephrase my question. Has anyone not had their car stolen? You might want to just step out sometime during the rally tonight. Make sure your car is still there. But joking aside, career car thieves get to do their sentences at home. It's house arrest. They can sit there watching Netflix or playing Grand Theft Auto. We're going to repeal house arrest for serious offenders and career criminals. We will also create a new offense for intimate partner violence to take domestic abusers and dangerous people and put them in jail. We will bring in mandatory life sentences for human traffickers, gun smugglers, and we know that when you're mass marketing fentanyl, 40 milligrams of which is enough to kill 20 people, you are effectively committing mass murder. You're firing a bullet into a crowded room. You might not know who will die, but somebody will definitely die. So we will treat fentanyl mass marketers and producers, for the murderers that they are, they will have life sentences in jail. They will come out in a box. Absolutely. And speaking of it at home, many of our business leaders in this very community are afraid in their own houses because after they achieve success through their hard work, they started getting letters saying, pay up, pay out $1 million, or we'll fire a bullet through your child's window in the middle of the night. We'll burn down your house or your business. We'll shoot one of your employees. Extortion has exploded under this Liberal government, which eliminated mandatory jail time for extortionists and allowed the worst extortionists, including those caught using guns, to serve their sentences at home. And that's why I'm so proud to have my deputy leader, Tim Uppal, here, who's going to working to change that. Tell Canadians about your bill to stop the extortion for a change.
Thank you very much. As you said, that when these soft on crime Liberals took office, they changed the laws and extortion took off up to over 400% in some areas. And these are very serious crimes, like you said, shooting at homes when families are at home, full houses burnt down as arson. And they were being released on bail. They were not even being caught. Police were doing the hard job of arresting them, and they were still getting out on bail. So what we brought in is a private member's bill that I brought forward with the support of our colleagues that would, at the very least, because there's no minimum penalty right now, have 3 years for anyone committing extortion, 4 years with a firearm, and 5 years if you did this with an organized crime organization, local, international. But the unbelievable thing is that every single Liberal and NDP member of Parliament, including the ones here in Brampton where many of these crimes took place, voted against that bill. They voted against giving extortionists more jail time. ਸਾਰੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਹੁਣ ਉਹ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਵੱਧ ਗਿਆ ਹੁਣ ਤਾਂ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਵਾਲੇ ਵੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਜੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੇਫਟੀ ਲਿਆਉਣੀ ਆ ਪੀਅਰ ਪੋਲੀਅਮ ਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਬਣਾਓ ਤੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੇਫਟੀ ਲਿਆਓ
Love you too, buddy. Who's this guy? What's your name? Anthony. Say hi to everyone, Anthony.
Hi, everyone.
Anthony, why did you come here today?
To support you.
Thank you very much. Good young man. How old are you?
I'm 12.
Wow. And what do you want to see for our country?
I want to see crimes being stopped. I want to see Canada turn good again.
Amazing. Let's bring it home. Way to go, bud. Thank you. Way to go. What a great kid. Maybe a future prime minister over there. Wow. Well, you'll be happy to know that we will implement all of Tim Uppal's
I think we're back on Rumble.
anti-extortion bill and more.
We were frozen there for a while. Maybe.
The biggest crackdown on crime in Canadian history. Let me tell you what we've got planned. This is going to be the toughest law ever passed to stop crime. Today I announce the 3 strikes you're out law. Anyone convicted of 3 serious offenses will go to jail for at least 10 years and maybe for life and will never be eligible for bail, probation, parole, or house arrest. Jail, not bail. Jail, not bail. In fact, we won't have to worry about them getting early parole because there will be no parole for those offenders. It will not exist. Here's how it will work. Once they're designated a dangerous offender, They will serve a minimum of 10 years with no possibility of early release. Any potential release thereafter will be conditional on their perfect behavior in prison, consistent and perfect drug-free tests showing that they're not using drugs, improving themselves and improving their surroundings, learning a trade or some sort of vocation that will help them be employed. The message is this: after you've done 3 offenses, you're going away for life unless you can prove to society that you are no longer a danger. That is how we are going to stop the crime and protect our communities forever. So on the matter of crime, the choice is clear. After the lost Liberal decade of rampaging crime, of drug overdoses, of weak borders and chaos everywhere, do the Liberals deserve a 4th term, or is it time? Or is it time to put law-abiding Canadians first for a change with a new Conservative government that will stop the crime? That's the choice. And we will stop the drugs. We've lost 50,000 people to drug overdoses. The fentanyl is all over our streets. The government has effectively legalized it by signaling to prosecutors not to pursue charges for possession. They reduced prison time for the traffickers who are profiting off of this hell. Well, I'm here to say that those days are over. We will ban the drugs. We will stop giving out tax-funded opioids. We will shut down the drug consumption sites. And we will use all the money saved. We will use all the money saved to invest in treatment and recovery for 50,000 Canadians to turn their lives around. Detox, rehabilitation, group therapy, counseling, sweat lodges for First Nations, and countless other services will help people cleanse their bodies and their souls, get into a house, take responsibility for their families again, and become the next ambassador to go out and lift someone else off the street, creating a virtuous cycle of saving our friends, our neighbors, our brothers and sisters from this scourge. And we will secure our borders. Right now, the government allows 99% of shipping containers to come in and go out without inspection. Where do you think all the stolen cars go? On a shipping container. So imagine this very simple idea. You've got a CBSA officer. We're going to hire 2,000 more of those too. And he sits there. You can tell me if this is a good idea, okay? I know you're not CBSA, but would this work? So you've got the manifest, and it says that in the shipping container is widgets. And then you look at the scanner, and it shows that it's a beamer. Well, then you go and you pull the beamer out of the container, you call the guy on the VIN and say, were you planning to send your beamer to Turkey today? And he says, no, I was going to drive it to work, but it went missing in this morning. Oh, well, we've got it over at the Port of Montreal. You can come get it. And then you find out who booked the shipping container. You go to that guy and say, you're under arrest. You have a right to remain silent. What do you think? Would that work? I don't know. I'm just a simple boy from the prairies, but it seems like it would make sense to me, right? Yeah, that's right. Common sense. And we're going to have watchtowers that scan the frontier border to stop illegal crossings from happening. We will also have more frontline officers and less back office bureaucrats and consultants. And we're going to pay for all this by canceling the ridiculous multi-billion-dollar gun grab that targets hunters and sport shooters. Now, we know that licensed, law-abiding, trained, and tested firearms owners are not the problem. That's because criminals don't typically go and get a license before they rob a bank. They take stolen guns from America, We want to protect Canadians from criminals, not turkeys from hunters. It's time to respect the law-abiding people of our land. But to do all this, it takes a Prime Minister who will put Canada first, who will bring home our money and jobs. And we know that it's the same Liberals, the same ministers, same strategists, making the same promises as they have over the last 10 years, but they've pulled a fast one. They've replaced Justin Trudeau with his economic advisor and handpicked successor, Mark Carney. The only difference is that he is weaker and more compromised than Justin Trudeau. We've now know that he stashed his corporate cash in Bermuda so that he doesn't have to pay the same high Liberal taxes that his government charges all of you. His company, which he's still invested in, owes $250 million to the Chinese government-controlled banks, meaning they'll be able to pull his strings and have him work against Canada for that foreign country. He calls himself a globalist and an elitist at a time when what we need is someone to champion the Canadian grassroots people. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate that. Mark Carney, this bait and switch of Mark Carney from Justin Trudeau is not enough to make up for the lost Liberal decade. We can't give them a fourth term. We need a new government that will put this country first for a change. Now, and that means making this a country where hard work once again pays off. Today, we got a lot of hardworking people in Brampton and Mississauga and other places. In fact, when I go to the communities around here and I walk around, all I ever see is people working nonstop. Like, I've never seen you never walk into a coffee shop and people are just relaxing anymore. You know, there used to be something you take for granted. People had leisure and fun. But you go to Brampton, Mississauga, Etobicoke now, all people do is work, work, work. And not because they're saving up, but because they need to just to keep their head above water. One of the reasons is they're spending more on taxes than on food, clothing, and shelter combined. Income tax is the fine you pay for the crime of hard work. The more you work, the more you pay. That's the Canada after the lost Liberal decade. And that is exactly what we want to reverse. If we want a strong Canadian economy, we need stronger paychecks. And that's why Conservatives will cut income tax by 15%. Thank you. 15% less income tax will mean you'll bring home more of each dollar you earn. Your hard work will once again pay off. Not only that, we want to bring back our jobs, including for the Brampton auto workers, and that is why we will axe the sales tax on Canadian-made automobiles. Buy Canadian. And then there's the carbon tax. The Liberals brought it in for 7 years. They kept the carbon tax law in place, but 28 days before the election, they hid it from the gas pump in the hope that they can fool people into electing them for a fourth Liberal term, after which they will simply raise the tax higher than ever before. Mark Carney says he wants a higher industrial carbon tax on our steel workers, aluminum workers, automakers, makers of fertilizer, and countless other essentials of industrial life that will drive our workers out of jobs and our businesses south of the border. This is another thing that Trump and Carney share in common. They both want to tax Canadian industry. Trump with tariffs, Carney with carbon taxes. I want neither. I will axe the carbon tax for everyone, for everything, for good, for real, for a change. And we will axe the worst tax of all, the inflation tax. The inflation tax is when the government runs out of other people's money and starts printing more. That extra money looks like lots of fun. Hundreds of billions of dollars pouring into the financial system, trickling slowly down through the hands of the richest and most well-connected. But by the time it gets to everyone else, it's lost its value because more dollars are bidding up a fixed supply of goods. If you have 10 apples in your economy and $10, it's $1 an apple. Double the dollars to 20, but still only have 10 apples. You're not twice as rich. It's just each apple now costs twice as much, right? That is inflation. And it's the sneakiest tax of all because there's no vote in Parliament. You don't see it happening. You just assume that the grocer raised apple prices because he's a greedy guy. No, it's just that there's more money bidding on that restricted supply of goods. So this is what we're going to do to stop the inflation tax. We're going to stop the source of the tax, which is over government spending. We have to get government spending under control. Liberals have nearly doubled the cost of government. Most of those increases happened while Mark Carney was Justin Trudeau's economic advisor. Don't let the banker's suit fool you. He is even proposing to spend more money than Justin Trudeau did. We will do the opposite. Our plan will cut bureaucracy, consultants, handouts to corporate insiders, and foreign aid to dictators, terrorists, and global bureaucracies to bring down the deficit, the inflation, and preserve the purchasing power of your money. We will cap spending with a dollar-for-dollar law that requires we find $1 of savings every time we bring in a new dollar of spending. You make those trade-offs every day. The same kinds of trade-offs that small businesses, single moms, and seniors do all the time to maximize the use of scarce resources. We're going to spend your money the way you spend your money, with care and respect, because you've been pinching your pennies long enough. It's time for government to pinch its pennies too. And that includes bringing down housing inflation. Housing costs have more than doubled after the lost Liberal decade. In fact, it now takes 29 years for the average GTA family to save up for the average home. This used to be you paid off an entire mortgage in 25 years before the Liberals came along. And now Mr. Carney is proposing the exact same policies that Trudeau used to give us the worst housing inflation in the G7. More government bureaucracies, more government programs in Ottawa. We don't need bureaucrats to build homes. We have carpenters, electricians, and plumbers for that. What we need is the government to get out of the way. That's right. Right now, the number one cost going into a new home in Ontario is not labor, land, or lumber. It's getting the permits and paying the taxes. 30% of the cost of a new home is just direct taxes. That's the sales tax, the land transfer tax, the development taxes, and then taxes on taxes on taxes. We will lead the charge in getting rid of these taxes. That's why I'm announcing that a conservative-led government will axe the sales tax on new homes, and we will incentivize municipalities to cut their taxes as well. We'll sell off 6,000 federal buildings and thousands of acres of federal land to build. And we're going to back the tradespeople who build the homes by training 350,000 young people will be given a chance for training in the best union halls in the country, learning to become pipe fitters, electricians, carpenters, and more. Because we need these people. We're going to bring back the $4,000 apprenticeship grant that the Liberals took away. And finally, I'm going to send a big, beautiful present to every high school principal. It's going to be a box the size of this stage. And in that box will be a module for every single licensed trade so that we can get our high school students doing pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships when they're 14 years old. Boots, not suits. Boots, not suits. Boots, not suits. Boots, not suits. We're going to need those boots to build our economy back after a lost Liberal decade of blocking our resources and keeping our energy in the ground. We need to reverse the dependence they have caused on us towards the Americans. We need, yes, you got that right, we're going to be repealing the anti-pipeline law, C-69. We're going to build... We're going to get rid of the Liberal production cap in our energy sector. We're going to unleash our resource potential with new shovel-ready zones. These are areas that are pre-permitted, that have permits so that businesses don't have to apply and wait 7 years. We'll do all the studies and the upfront research to protect public health and the environment so that the businesses know where they can build, how they can build, and then just get busy building now here in Canada. We're going to cut 25% of the rules and regulations that fall on the back of our small businesses so that our restaurant owners, our home builders, and others spend less time filling out paperwork and more time serving customers and hiring workers. It's just common sense. That's how we're going to reinforce our economy. So the question we have is, after a lost Liberal decade of rising costs and crime and a falling economy, we can't have a fourth term. We need a new Conservative government that will unleash our economy, cut taxes for our workers, and bring home opportunity for all. And this is my favorite part of the night. When I talk about the great investors in this room, we are going to pass the Canada First reinvestment tax cut. Zero capital gains tax when you reinvest in Canada. Bring it home. And we're going to protect our country by rebuilding our military, We're going to buy 4 big, powerful Arctic icebreakers, double the size of the 1st Patrol Group of the Arctic Rangers. We will also fill up all of the vacancies in our armed forces so that our soldiers, sailors, and airmen are ready to stand on guard. And we will open the first Canadian Arctic base since the Cold War, CFB Iqaluit. It's going to be a great, great place to serve. We'll expand the Cadet Corps to train our youth and mentor them under the watchful eye of our soldiers, sailors, and airmen. And we will fix the broken immigration system that the Liberals have left behind. Canada has benefited greatly from what was the best immigration system in the world before Justin Trudeau and the Liberals came along and ruined it. And they continue to be obsessed with this ridiculous Century Initiative, which seeks to nearly triple our population to 100 million people. My friends, this is an idea just meant to favor the multinational corporations who want to drive down our wages. We will not allow it. We will get back to the best immigration system where we welcome people who can get jobs, get homes, and have health care, and we will give opportunity back. We will bring in a Blue Seal certification so immigrant doctors, nurses, and other professionals can get quickly licensed and working in our hospital system. Who here is ready for a change? Who is going to vote for that change? You can vote as early as tomorrow morning. Go out to the returning office. Who's going to go out tomorrow and vote? Not good enough. I want to hear louder than that. Who's voting tomorrow? I need you to vote. If you don't vote, then things won't change. We'll get a 4th Liberal term. We don't want that. We want to be a self-reliant and sovereign people that stands on its own 2 feet, harvests its resources, trades with each other, builds homes for its youth, protects its vulnerable, secures its borders, honors its history, builds its security, and raises its flag. We are not a nation of tax collectors and toll masters, of gatekeepers and grandees, of rulers and rule makers. No, we are a nation of entrepreneurs and explorers, of artists and adventurers, of warriors and workers, of patriots and pioneers, united around the Canadian promise that anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, that hard work gets you a beautiful life and a wonderful home on a safe street under our proud flag. Canada first, let's bring it home!
We're muted there. I got rid of the music because of the copyright issue. So audio down, video still up though, and you can see they have a pretty good crowd there in Brampton tonight. Not nearly as big as the crowd they had out there in Edmonton when Stephen Harper took to the stage to introduce Pierre Poilievre. But yeah, they're on a roll. That's for sure. I was kind of comparing things a little bit yesterday. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take a look at the source video to compare how many views Poilievre is getting versus Carney online with their rallies. Poilievre seemed to be way out in front last night, but then I did post just the rally itself for Carney on Twitter, and well, the Poilievre stuff for us was getting a lot more views on all the platforms. Twitter was the exception. Carney got like 3 times as many views on Twitter. Interestingly, as I look here at the source video, or if you even go over to CPAC, Poilievre 1,800. Oh no, that's tonight's stuff. That's interesting. Neck and neck, almost the same, and double the number of views between the Calgary rally for Carney, 15,000, and the Poilievre rally in Sault Ste. Marie, 34,000. But I don't think Carney is very popular not nearly as popular in Alberta as Poilievre. At least not right now. So I don't know if that's not very scientific. I can say that, the views, the numbers are always skewed a little bit depending on the demographics for each platform and even per channel. But the CPAC channel, kind of neutral, but then you have to take into consideration the city that they are in as well, and which way the people there lean in terms of which way they're going to vote. Just trying to get a bead on whether the polls are accurate or whether if they're way off out to lunch on the polling, or if they're being rigged in some way by looking at the number of views these videos are generating online. It's a little difficult even there, though, because channels tend to have their own little demographic quirks, or major quirks. Anyway, let's take a break. That speech now behind us, and we're going to go to London, Ontario, and pick up that video with Maxime Bernier talking about immigration, laying out his whole plan.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Okay, give me a moment here. We might pick up this Liberal rally here too. I'm not sure what's going on with that, so give me a moment. And then we'll give everybody a little bit of everything so you get a taste of the full spectrum. I'm not sure. Polyev here, Maxime over there, Carney over there. I'll be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So yeah, Maxime Bernier, leader of the PPC party, on a campaign swing through southern Ontario today. He went to Windsor, and I met with him in London, Ontario, my hometown. I don't live in London anymore, but it was within driving distance, so I went on up to London and put this report together for you guys tonight. He lays out his whole sort of immigration plan, and I also got an opportunity to meet today with some of the London area PPC candidates. Maxime Bernier, leader of the People's Party of Canada, in London, Ontario today, talking about immigration. He was at the Customs and Immigration offices on Exeter Road in the south end of the city. He has announced that if his party wins the federal election, a PPC government would impose a moratorium on all new permanent residents coming to Canada.
I also said that Trudeau's cult of diversity and radical multiculturalism was dividing our country into tribes, that we were creating ghettos, that we were importing conflicts from other countries, and that Canada's culture, heritage, and identity were being diluted because it was impossible to successfully integrate so many immigrants. Again, we were accused of being intolerant, even though many PPC candidates were themselves immigrants or sons and daughters of immigrants. Hysterical left-wing journalists panicked when pro-PPC billboards appeared across the country with the slogan, "Say no to mass immigration." It was impossible to have a rational conversation on this issue. 6 years later, it has become absolutely clear that we were right. Today, there is a new consensus that is emerging. Mass immigration is indeed a major cause of the housing crisis. Even the Liberal government had to admit it. Mass immigration is also responsible for our stagnation of our standard of living. The economy is growing, but not as fast as the population. That's why our GDP per capita is the same today as it was 10 years ago. And who cannot recognize also that mass immigration increases pressure on our failing health care system, social programs, and infrastructures. We bring in too many immigrants, temporary foreign workers, and foreign students who don't have the skills that we need. Instead, they compete with young Canadians and semi-retired seniors for low-skilled jobs. We have all heard about the immigration scams to bring people here under fraudulent claims. There may be up to 500,000 illegal migrants in this country today who have stayed after their visa has expired. The People's Party is not against immigration or against immigrants. Many of our candidates and volunteers across the country are immigrants. What we are against is mass immigration. What we denounce are the many negative impacts that mass immigration has on our country. And polls show that the vast majority of Canadians now agree with what we were saying 6 years ago. A nation must be based on a sense of belonging, of participating in a common national project and sharing the same values. It is only when these sentiments are widely shared that we can develop the trust and common understandings necessary for our society and institutions to function. For many decades, Canada welcomed a reasonable number of immigrants who had to go through a very difficult selection process, who came here to work and become Canadian. Not to live like foreigners among us as if they were still in their home country. But when over 1 million foreigners come to Canada every year, that process of economic, social, cultural integration simply falls apart. Moreover, the official policy of multiculturalism encourages immigrants to keep the values and culture they left behind instead of integrating into Canadian society and adopting Canadian values and culture. It is time to put an end to this process of disintegration of our Canadian identity and social cohesion. This is why the People's Party has proposed the following policies. First, impose a moratorium on new permanent residents for as many years as necessary until the housing crisis has cooled down and the process of social and cultural disintegration due to mass immigration has been reversed. Second, deport all illegals who are staying in Canada after their visas have expired. Third, drastically lower the number of foreign students and temporary foreign workers and make sure that they do not compete with Canadian workers. And fourth, eliminate all funding to promote multiculturalism and emphasize instead the integration of immigrants into Canadian society. Mass immigration is destroying our society, our economy, and our unique Canadian identity. We need a pause to repair the damage. And therefore, we need a reasonable immigration policy that's in the interest of Canadians, old and new, not of foreigners. It's time to adopt these ambitious reforms with the People's Party. Thank you. Je vais maintenant faire ma déclaration en français. Bonjour à tous. Je suis aujourd'hui à London, Ontario. Je veux vous parler de la question de l'immigration de Vancouver, where a large proportion of immigrants settle. Nobody wanted to recognize the problem then. I also said that Trudeau's cult of diversity and radical multiculturalism was dividing our country into tribes, that we were creating ghettos, that we were importing conflicts from other countries, and that Canada's culture, heritage, and identity were being diluted because it was impossible to successfully integrate so many immigrants. Again, we were accused of being intolerant, even though many PPC candidates were themselves immigrants or sons and daughters of immigrants. Hysterical left-wing journalists panicked when pro-PPC billboards appeared across the country with the slogan, "Say no to mass immigration." It was impossible to have a rational conversation on this issue. 6 years later, it has become absolutely clear that we were right. Today, there is a new consensus that is emerging. Mass immigration is indeed a major cause of the housing crisis. Even the Liberal government had to admit it. Mass immigration is also responsible for our stagnation of our standard of living. The economy is growing, but not as fast as the population. That's why our GDP per capita is the same today as it was 10 years ago. And who cannot recognize also that mass immigration increases pressure on our failing health care system, social programs, and infrastructures. We bring in too many immigrants, temporary foreign workers, and foreign students who don't have the skills that we need. Instead, they compete with young Canadians and semi-retired seniors for low-skilled jobs. We have all heard about the immigration scams to bring people here under fraudulent claims. There may be up to 500,000 illegal migrants in this country today who have stayed after their visa has expired. The People's Party is not against immigration or against immigrants. Many of our candidates and volunteers across the country are immigrants. What we are against is mass immigration. What we denounce are the many negative impacts that mass immigration has on our country. And polls show that the vast majority of Canadians now agree with what we were saying 6 years ago. A nation must be based on a sense of belonging, of participating in a common national project, and sharing the same values. It is only when these sentiments are widely shared that we can develop the trust and common understandings necessary for our society and institutions to function. For many decades, Canada welcomed a reasonable number of immigrants who had to go through a very difficult selection process, who came here to work and become Canadian. Not to live like foreigners among us as if they were still in their home country. But when over 1 million foreigners come to Canada every year, that process of economic, social, cultural integration simply falls apart. Moreover, the official policy of multiculturalism encourages immigrants to keep the values and culture they left behind, instead of integrating into Canadian society and adopting Canadian values and culture. It is time to put an end to this process of disintegration of our Canadian identity and social cohesion. This is why the People's Party has proposed the following policies. First, impose a moratorium on new permanent residents for as many years as necessary until the housing crisis has cooled down and the process of social and cultural disintegration due to mass immigration has been reversed. Second, deport all illegals who are staying in Canada after their visas have expired. Third, drastically lower the number of foreign students and temporary foreign workers and make sure that they do not compete with Canadian workers. And fourth, eliminate all funding to promote multiculturalism and emphasize instead the integration of immigrants into Canadian society. Mass immigration is destroying our society, our economy, and our unique Canadian identity. We need a pause to repair the damage. And therefore, we need a reasonable immigration policy that's in the interest of Canadians, old and new, not of foreigners. It's time to adopt these ambitious reforms with the People's Party. Thank you.
But the moratorium is for everybody, anyone who wants to come to the country.
Is your question?
Just what's the how would you go about deporting people, or what would the process involve in that regard?
What would be the process about deporting people? First, like I said, we must know the real number. We must be able to find them, and after that, deporting them. Yes, that will take a lot of resources, but now all the resources that are, in that department to open our doors to immigration, they won't have to do that. That will be a moratorium. So all these people who are working at the Citizenship and Immigration Canada, their first job will be to find these people and deport them. We have a legislation in Canada. Our legislation must be respected, and that's not the case right now.
Right. Thank you. In the U.S., there are concerns about due process, people's rights. What would you do to make sure that people's rights are preserved and that only people who fall into the proper category would be deported?
No, it would be easy to know which one must be deported. It's the illegals, the ones who are here today and don't have a valid permit. Like I said, international students, when they have their diploma, they must go back to their country of origin. Right now, they are staying here without any permits, and their international students permit has expired. So these people are illegals, and we have the right to deport them. That's part in the legislation. Actually, we won't have to pass a new legislation. That is in our immigration legislation. The federal government has the right to deport people when they are here illegally, and they are illegal when they don't have any permit. Thank you for asking.
PPC candidates from across the London region were also in attendance and had this to say about the immigration plan.
Alderman Norfolk. And what was your name again?
Henry Geisler.
Geisler, Geisler.
2S.
Okay. So what's your view on the immigration issue after listening to what Max had to say?
Well, it's unchanged. I have the same position, and I agree with the party, which is why I decided to run for it.
Right.
I wanted to vote for it.
And so, as I asked Max, I'll get your view on this as well. What do you think needs to be done to ensure due process as you go about identifying who you would need to deport?
Well, I think that's where we have the police and the immigration office. I mean, they have to know who these people are, and if they don't know who they are, well, then that's a good question. Who are they, and what are they doing here? You don't have a right to be in Canada unless you're Canadian. And if they can't identify who's Canadian and who's not, well, then something needs to be changed there too.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that's the case. I'm saying it shouldn't be rocket science to figure out who's supposed to be here and who's not.
So what would the process look like in the States? We're seeing raids and going after gang members, things of that nature. So
I would leave that to the authorities. That's their job. If they have to bust down doors to do it, well, I suppose that's how they do it. But
right.
But again, you know, I mean, I think they keep track of us already, you know, more than we probably know. So I don't think that's going to be the hard part.
Yeah. And what do you think the chances are for the PPC in this upcoming election? You have more
than ever.
Yeah.
Let me put it that way.
Okay. Yeah, because you have more candidates running than any other party, I think, across the country.
No, I don't think that is true.
300 and some candidates, and I think even the PCs are only up to about
Are you
280.
serious?
Oh yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, that's
so,
great.
what do you make of the news conference? This is about immigration, and is this one of the top issues in your riding?
Absolutely. We have overcrowding. We have no housing in Middlesex, London. The urban areas are sprawling out into the farmland areas, and people are upset. You know, Middlesex has a proud history of farming, and so if you take up all the space with apartment buildings, big box stores, so we need to put a moratorium on immigration so that our infrastructure can catch up, and so that the people that are already here, the Canadian citizens, can get some housing.
What would you do to ensure due process and to make sure only the proper people are deported if it comes to that? Because that's one of the main concerns that's going on in the U.S. right now with their deportation efforts. Do you have any comments on that?
I think that we leave that to our immigration workers who know how to handle those situations. They can check their identification, their visas, their permits to be here. But if they don't have them, they have to go back.
Just give me your name and the riding you represent.
I'm Stephen R. Campbell. I'm in the riding of Elgin, St. Thomas, London South. I'm always confused because they just changed the district name. To me, London South it's actually called Lambeth. The people, wherever they are, they don't even know where we live.
So, again, though, what's your position on the immigration and deportations, which is what Max was kind of talking about?
So, it's a moratorium. We're putting a stop to it so we can get people into homes, bring the pricing down so the immigrants can afford a home. Canadians can stop living in tents. 300,000 people are in tents across our nation. The size of the city of London is 400,000. There's 17 major cities in Canada.
Yeah.
And think of that. The city of London, tents. The whole city, tents. That's how many people. A major city of people are living in tents in the cold up north. We have to put a stop and correct it. And then you put a stop. Then when we fix the problem, we open up immigration again. And
Okay. I will be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
In the interest of fairness and balance, let's go to Saskatoon. Mark Carney rallying out there.
Oh, we are in the Paris of the prairies, thank God. This is amazing. It's amazing to be back in Saskatoon. Oh, thank you, Diana. You're still with me after that bad first date. Thank you, Buckley. Thank you, Buckley, for standing up. And thanks all the incredible candidates in Saskatoon across this great province. Oh. You know, I made a mistake. I'll tell you. Okay, you guys over there, don't listen to this. Don't listen to this. I'm going to tell you a little story. Trump dropped some tariff bomb on us. And I had to make, I'll get back to him, but I had to make an announcement. And I sprinted up the steps of Parliament, and I got to the top of the steps, and all the media were there, and then I realized, oh, I'm supposed to make the announcement right now. I was like, but I'm supposed to look cool and calm under things. But anyways, it worked. Listen, this is fantastic. I was last in Saskatoon 2 months ago, 6 weeks ago. Was anyone at Winston's then? That's good. Where were the rest of you? Where were the rest of you then? Now you're here. Okay. All right. Exactly. Yeah, loved it. It was great. I want to start with a simple question, which is, who's ready? Who is ready? Who is ready to stand up for Canada with me? Who's ready? You in the red shirt over there, are you ready to help the Liberal Party win the most consequential election of our lifetimes? And send some great MPs, Liberal MPs, to Ottawa. You've got to send. We got to send great Saskatchewan MPs to Ottawa, because let me tell you, I have lived in Ottawa a number of years, and nothing happens in Ottawa. And if something happens in Ottawa, people don't notice. And we need to change that. But I'm going to tell you a quick story that goes back to Winston's. In Ottawa, in the main hotel, the equivalent of the Bessborough, there hangs the photograph of Winston Churchill, the most famous photograph of Winston Churchill. You know it. A number of you are nodding. He's glowering at the camera because Karsh, the famous photographer, had taken his cigar from him. He's glowering at the camera. It looks the height of wartime defiance. And it was at a point known as, well, let me tell you, it was at a point at the end of 1941 where Churchill had just visited FDR, and he was up to see Mackenzie King. And it was a point after the Allies had lost every battle with the exception of the Battle of Britain. The Japanese had just bombed Pearl Harbor, and the world's fate hung in the balance. And Churchill described it as the hinge of fate. That was the moment. It was the hinge of fate. Now, that photograph was stolen. Not 50. Oh, that's misguided. That's misguided. That's all right. It's all right. It's all right. We value diversity in this country. We value diversity in this country, unlike the United States of America. You can hold different opinions in this country. It's all right. Thank you. Thank you. My point. Where was I on my Winston Churchill thing? So Winston Churchill, the photograph was stolen, but nobody in Ottawa noticed for a year.
Yeah, for a year. Yeah.
We found it in the end. It's coming back. Anyway, point is, this is a long story. It's a longer story than I intended. Anyway, the point is that at that moment, it was a hinge moment in history. The tide turned. We live through hinge moments once, maybe twice in our lifetimes. We had one in 1989 with the fall of the Berlin Wall. We are having one right now. The world economy is fundamentally changed. The relationship we had with the Americans, these guys weren't wrong. They want us to be the 51st state. They want to break us. They want to break us so they can own us. They want our resources. They want our water. They want our land. They want our country. And what do we say? You don't have to die. You don't have to die. Never. Never. Because Canada is not America. Canada is a mosaic. You look at this room. You look at this room. We are all Canadians, but we are all distinct. Canada is not America. In our country, we take care of our own. We take care of our own. In our country, healthcare isn't a big business like the U.S. It is a right. That's right. That's right. So what are we going to do? What do we do in this situation? Fight. Yeah, we fight. We fight. We do more than fight. We do more than fight. Okay, we heard you. I heard you. I heard. You made your point. You made your point. So, what we do on I say, Mr. President, no, you're disqualified on that basis. So on the, thank you. Thank you. So what we do in this country is we're going to fight, we're going to protect, and we're going to build. Here. We're going to build. So we're going to fight. We fight the Americans with what they understand. They understand money, they understand lawyers, and they understand Fox News. So we put counter tariffs on the Americans. We put counter tariffs on the Americans. Okay, I've come a long way. These people have waited a long time, and I would like to speak. Understand the point. Thank you. Thank you. So, thank you. Thank you. Do my best. So, money. American, number one, money. We have put counter tariffs on the Americans. Counter tariffs to have maximum impact there and minimum impact here. Lawyers. We got a lot of lawyers. We're taking them to court, in their courts, in the international courts, in the NAFTA court, and we will win those lawsuits. And Fox News, well, we got Doug Ford all over Fox News. He's making the point. Almost, he's good. He's good. He's good, Doug. But the court, the next thing we do, okay, fight, yes. But what we have to do is we have to protect our workers. Protect our workers. Think of the steel workers. The steel workers here in Saskatchewan. Steel workers in Saskatchewan. The auto workers in Ontario. The farmers and fishers. The potash workers. And we're taking, some would take the money from the tariffs and they want to cut taxes. I won't say who that is, but you can probably guess because his answer to everything is cut taxes. We're taking every dollar from these tariffs and we're giving it back to the workers who are most affected by them and the enterprises. We are protecting our own. But the big thing that we are doing, and we're drawing on the values of Saskatchewan, is to build this great country. Build millions more homes. Not a few. Millions more homes. We are going to double the rate of home building in this country so that all the young people here can actually afford a home. That would be nice for them. We are building these homes with Canadian technology in mass timber, Canadian technology in modular, Canadian workers, Canadian unions. Canadian design for Canadians. We are going to build, and I made a series of announcements today about this, we are going to build Canada as an energy superpower. An energy superpower in oil, in gas, to displace the imports Eastern Canada takes from, you guessed it, America. An energy superpower in clean energy and nuclear energy, built on the ingenuity in Saskatchewan. An energy superpower that harvests our critical metals and minerals in full partnership with Indigenous peoples. You know, you'll hear a sort of arms race amongst political leaders during this campaign who say, I'll approve this project, I'll do this project, I'll do this in 5 years, 2 years, 6 months. We will do projects only in partnership with Indigenous peoples. Only in partnership with First Nations. Only in partnership. Only in partnership with the provinces. And only in ways that gives back to the people of Canada. That's what we will do. And the other thing we will do, and our phone is now ringing off the hook. It is. If it had a hook, I guess that shows my age. It doesn't have a hook. It's vibrating. It's vibrating. Is we are going to build new partnerships with reliable trading partners. People who keep their word. People who keep their word. So we signed a new security partnership with Australia to protect our Arctic. New partnerships with France and the United Kingdom, two of our founding people. We're going to build new trade corridors to reach Asia, to reach Europe, to reach beyond. You know, I actually had a pretty good life about 4 months ago. But I, like you, was probably worried about our country. Aware that we needed to make some big changes. Big changes to address the housing crisis. Big changes to address the cost of living crisis. Big changes so young people have options, such as what we've just created. Let me just say one thing. In terms of our housing policy, we are going to create not hundreds of thousands of jobs. We're going to create hundreds of thousands of careers in the trades. Yeah. So I put my hand up to run for Liberal leader. I want to thank those brave souls who went out in minus 30 to Winston's like it was nothing else. Yes. I got to tell you, the door to the minivan was frozen when we got. I was like, oh yes, I remember this growing up. Actually, we didn't have minivans when I grew up, but I remember doors being frozen. I want to thank the brave souls that came out then and supported me then early on. I want to thank all of you who are here supporting Liberal candidates, the Liberal Party. I know many of you are not Liberals, haven't been Liberals, are thinking about putting your trust in us at this crucial time. Thank you. I put my hand up because this country has given me everything. This country gave me my education. My family and my values. And it's my responsibility to give my everything to Canada at this hinge moment in history so we can build an even better country. We can lead. We can give ourselves far more than the Americans can ever take away. We are Canada strong. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. À bien.
Okay, so we'll pull the audio down from that too, so because they'll no doubt start running some music that will get us a copyright strike. So a shorter speech from him, and I've noticed he keeps attracting hecklers, and I'm not sure he's the most effective. Well, he didn't do a bad job handling them tonight, but he seems to at times get a little testy with reporters who ask him questions he doesn't like, and I'm not sure that he's smooth enough yet with the hecklers. He didn't do bad tonight, though. And the housing plan, a little bit different than what Poilievre is rolling out, focusing on that. Interesting, this story about Jagmeet Singh and this Saskatchewan Party MLA who called him a terrorist. I don't know if you've seen this or not. I'll show you the headline. This MLA has apologized to Jagmeet Singh. That's a picture of her, the MLA, who has issued an apology after she called Jagmeet Singh a terrorist. During a speech on the floor of the legislature about 2 weeks ago, Raquel Hilbert, the Saskatchewan Party MLA for Humboldt-Watrous, made that comment according to this report on CTV back on March 25th. And she says, quote, "During my budget response speech, I made an inappropriate comment regarding the federal NDP leader. She said, I wish to apologize and withdraw my comment." So she made the comment while responding to opposition criticism of the budget. During her remarks, it says she spoke about the government's work in opening trade offices and finding new markets for Saskatchewan products. She went on and said, "None of this has been easy, and in fact, the road has been bumpy at times. It's been more difficult due to challenges presented by the federal government, propped up by the federal NDP supported by this opposition." She says, "We did not hear the opposition denounce their federal leader as being a terrorist in India and denounce the collateral trade damage to Western Canada." So then Jagmeet Singh did respond, and we have his video to show you what he said about it. There he is. Okay, I've got the tab. Let me share that with you. Because Jagmeet Singh says he's an adult, blah, blah, blah. And here's what he said.
There is an MLA from Saskatchewan that I've learned now has referred to me as a terrorist. I'm an adult. I'm a leader of a national party. I'm an elected official. I'm a lawyer. I don't care that they said that about me. It's not about me. But I am worried about why someone would say that. Like, this is an MLA, someone that's an elected official, respected member of their community, a former teacher. Like, what would make someone say something like that? This is, I'm assuming, a very educated person. On a quick Google, you know that this is completely false. Like, I am a lawyer in good standing. I've passed the bar. I've been called to the bar. I have high security clearance at the federal level. Like, this is clearly a lie. But what's happened in this MLA's life for them to say that about me? Like, why would they go to that point? Why would they lie in that way? But more than me, it's not about me. Like I said, I don't care that they said it about me. But I am worried about what a kid in the classroom where this MLA was a teacher, what that kid would have gone through to have maybe they were made to feel like they were a threat, that they were someone that people should be suspicious of just because they look different. That's really what it says when you call someone something like that. You're saying that someone is a danger, someone is a threat just because they look different. And when did we get to a point in our society that was okay? To make people feel like they're a danger, they're a threat just because of the way they look. That's what I'm really worried about. I'm worried about kids growing up in a classroom where she taught, where this MLA, maybe people living in the province that are now thinking, well, am I supposed to be afraid for myself because I look different? Maybe I'm going to be called a name. I mean, I'm worried about that. And I'm worried about the type of country we want to build.
Well, interesting. Okay. Let's take a little break. I'll come back.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
So that gets us to the top of the hour. Let me just pop into the chat for just a moment. I haven't been looking too much. Oh, there we are. I'm sure that some comments have come forward from all of those speeches given. Hello, Belovely. Hello, Linda. Welcome back, Linda. And thank you to those of you who let me know that Rumble is freezing in some places. I tried to fix it, but whatever I did, really, I don't think it had any impact. It was just, I think it just self-corrected over time for some people. So it wasn't any magic that I performed. I'm just glad it got rocking and rolling there. Dragon says, check my comment on Carney. I don't know. I'd have to sift back through here, Dragon. I don't know what you said about Carney. Something about feel like bringing Carney to the table is like bringing a knife in a gunfight. Not only he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, but also unreliable. Okay. He's not the sharpest knife in the drawer? Okay, I'm going to look over in the other chat. No comments in there at the moment about the immigration issue. And I don't know what's going on here in YouTube. Oh, there we are. Well, there's Kitty the Prepping Cat. Hello, Kitty, and Jesse, Alicia, my great friend Bon, and John. Hello, Sandy. And Pooh Bear is glad the hecklers are there. And Tinfoil Hat says Carney was just blocks away from wherever Tinfoil Hat lives there out in Saskatchewan. Well, and Deborah's in there too. All right. Well, I think we've kind of covered the bases here tonight. And I was going to go to the phones, but it is already, past the hour. We've covered a lot of ground tonight. Maybe we'll save the phone conversation for tomorrow night. Working on a few special shows in the days ahead, too. There's going to be a show coming up, I think. Let me just check the information from one of the people that we're working with. And, we're going to get the gentleman on who talk about our principles, right? From ourprinciples.ca. They're going to come back on the program. and they're going to be talking about those political scorecards again to help us kind of figure out where all the candidates stand on the various issues, I guess. So they have created 5 questions for people to ask candidates. So I think we're going to do a program about that. And we'll get those guys back on, because I know that you got great value out of the programs that we had with them before. So I look forward to doing that. And what else we got going on? I think we're going to get Colonel Lockwood back on in the days ahead, too. I still have to reach out to him. And you know what? To heck with it. Let's go to the phones here for a little bit. I will fire up those phone lines. So let me get that. Just even for a couple of quick calls, just to give you guys a chance to join the conversation, give you guys a voice on tonight's program. I'll get the little promo thingy running here so you know the number to call while I get the phone lines set up. Here it is. Call now. Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860075-764, followed by the pound sign. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860075-764, followed by the pound sign. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860075-764, followed by the pound sign. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. Okay, and again, thank you to Isabel and to John and out of Toronto, and even John Rimby, who was criticizing my hair yesterday. But thank you to all you guys for your support yesterday. And yeah, I was feeling a little discouraged, but I'm grateful for the words of encouragement. You guys lifted me up and supported me, and it made a big difference. Thank you. And I really appreciate that. And to Jennifer, too. Thank you. And to all of you who supported me yesterday. I guess what I was saying was touching some of you, so thank you. Let's get the number up on the screen for you guys tonight. If you want to call in and comment on any of what we just worked through or anything else, the number to phone is right there. 1-647-734-4220. And then just punch in that PIN number, 860075-764, followed by the pound sign. And that'll put you right into the call. And I will get you up into the system so that you can join the conversation. 647-734-4220. And maybe Dragon will want to call in and explain what the heck he was talking about with Mark Carney. And please like, share, and subscribe. Share. And please subscribe to our various channels. We're trying to build that other YouTube channel up over on Maverick Live. And I noticed a couple of people in the chat on that channel tonight, and we're having some success there. In fact, yesterday, that channel generated far more views than the original channel. And, both of our Rumble channels up and running tonight. Please subscribe over there, and we're growing on some of these other platforms like Play TV and Twitch and BitChute and Wimkin and a bunch of others. So we're getting a wider audience and a kind of a mixed demographic as we move across some of these various platforms and expand our reach. So really appreciate the support yesterday, and I appreciate you guys liking, sharing. Give us the thumbs up, too. That doesn't cost you anything, but I hope we've at least earned your support for a thumbs up, because that helps with the algorithm, and we really need that support as well to kind of push back, especially over on YouTube, where we sometimes get hammered with suppression and shadow banning and arbitrary elimination or erasure of our subscribers. So check that out. If you've subscribed to the channel, make sure you're still subscribed, because YouTube is actually doing a thing where they're unsubscribing people without people knowing. Interesting, isn't it? Okay, let's go to our first caller of the night. Who's on the line?
Well, it's your good old dragon to explain his joke, at least for one thing.
Okay, Dragon calling from Montreal. Give us your Montreal perspective, sir. And what were you talking about with regard to Mark Carney? Was that did I read the right thing, or just go ahead and explain?
Actually, no, you did. You didn't read it right. The thing is that my point of view is that Carney is having a hard time sometimes to find himself his own election promises, because he keeps taking over few ideas from the conservatives. So yeah, that's the way I see it. So that's why I said he's not the sharpest tool around.
I see. I see. So yeah, you've picked up on the same thing. A lot of people have noticed that he's stolen some of the planks from the conservative Polyev platform. Yeah, like eliminating the GST on purchases of homes by first-time home buyers. That's directly taken from the conservative playbook on new home construction, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you come around on that turf, you need to be, I think, original with what you come up with.
Actually, Canada's kind of known for that. Our politicians have always sort of rated each other's platforms when it comes to elections. There's a long history of it. They don't like to admit it, of course, but it becomes painfully obvious when they steal each other's stuff. I don't really have much of a problem with it. I kind of think it's healthy, actually, because if somebody has a good idea, I think it's good for the country to have somebody sit there and say, well, you know what? I like that idea. I'm going to steal it because it's a good idea, regardless of, the political stripe. But if you get too entrenched in your ideology or your party politics, and you become so obstinate that you're absolutely not going to take anything from the other side, I'd rather, honestly, between you and I and everybody out there in the world, I'd rather see the politicians stealing ideas from each other to just make effective policy that benefits Canadians. And I think that it goes on both sides all the time here. Less so in the States right now, though. It's like, and I think that this polarization in politics prevents some of that from taking place, because it's like, whatever that guy says, I'm against it. But I don't know that really gets us to a better place. Do you have any further thoughts on that, Dragon?
Well, yeah, what you said yesterday about what Carney, for example, what he says about the home crisis and how he wants to probably direct the problem, there's some good in there. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. But does everything sounds good for everyone? That's the problem. And this is where people is going to put their decision, I think, on the election. To be fair, I think there's something about, I think that when someone takes too much ideas from somebody else, the thing is that it does probably kind of, how can I put that? Say that you're kind of trying to infiltrate the people's minds, or manipulate the people toward you, and that this is where you kind of trap people, where you can do whatever you want at the end of the day when you get elected. This is where I think there's the trap behind taking basically the same ideas than your opponent. But that's just my opinion, I think.
So what you're saying is you think that, like, they're taking these ideas and putting them into their campaigns, but you don't think they're actually going to follow through with them because they maybe don't really believe in the idea. They're just saying it to get votes. Is that really what you mean?
Yeah, well, for most of the part, yeah. And depend on what you vote for. So,
well,
I mean,
yeah, well, that's kind of what Poilievre is alluding
It's a
to when he's talking about the carbon tax, right? Because we've seen Carney come in and then declare that the carbon tax is being canceled, which it is at the moment, because the price of gasoline went down substantially. Like I said the other day, my dad bought gasoline for like $1.12 per liter, down from, it was around, sometimes around here it's been up at like $1.60. So it dropped that much because those taxes were taken off. But yeah, it may just well be an election ploy after the election. Honestly, I think regardless of who gets in, the price is going back up. And even if the Conservatives don't give us a carbon tax, my guess is they'll find some other tax to slap on things, because one way or another they're gonna need revenue. But I guess, traditionally, normally, and I think in this case too, you probably are going to get less tax from a Conservative government than you would from the Liberals. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think that the Liberal probably will try to hide some tax beneath other taxes, or, try to put them there without you to notice, or think that you might not notice them till you receive the bill at the end of the day. So,
yeah. Well, they always try to buy your votes, these politicians, right? When you get into an election cycle, especially Liberals, they like to go out and spend the money and throw money around, and announcements of funding for this and healthcare for that, and social supports for this, and yeah, they like to buy your votes with your money, your tax dollars, and they do it every election in a sort of a roundabout way. That's what the tax cut at the gas pumps is all about. But I'll take it any way I can get it for now. A substantial price drop, that is for sure.
Right on.
Yeah.
And I mean, you also brought a good point earlier, right? With Trump, basically what he's doing with the tariffs and the way he's coming up with them, and then, put a break on them and so on. It kind of, I don't know why, and I'm not an economist like you, all right? I'm way not an economist, but it kind of reminded me of what happened probably in 2008, if my memory is correct, when we had a certain crisis, economically speaking, and people were actually, there were some tariffs. The tariff was not the problem at that point in time, but the idea of the tariff was creating some insiders trade, like the one that we've probably seen. And this is how the big bucks and the big rich people became richer, and the poor even poorer.
Yeah, no question about it. Like anytime you get a crash or a big market correction, even the the big money people move in, and you just watch them, and they just seem to know when to sell, and then they just wait till it gets to close to the bottom, and they just know when to buy, and then they ride it back up real quick to the top. That's what's going on here today.
We like to say, it's buy low, sell high. So basically, some people like you and I that was probably having some trades or some economy in some of those company. Well, we were probably selling at a lower price because we were fearing of losing everything at the end of the day. So this is kind of, it did contribute a lot into the crisis.
Yeah, 2008 was a totally different animal, though. I remember 2008 pretty well because I was running my little media company while I was still working in television, and instantly, like when that crash happened in 2008, it became incredibly difficult to run the business because there was no advertising revenue. It just dried up like overnight. And so just to do a program, it just instantly put me behind the eight ball. So many people were in a really tough position, even here in Canada, with their businesses because of what happened. But that was really sparked by a housing market bubble in the United States. And that was all about, over leveraging. It was about, too lenient government policies encouraging people to take mortgages that they really couldn't afford, ultimately, is what it's about. That's what it was about. Somebody else just joined us on the line. Who's there?
Hey, Rick, it's Linda from the chat and Rumble.
Hey.
I'd like to say hi to all of my guys out in the chat. You've been really good.
Well, welcome back, Linda, and I hope that things on the home front are well for you. Is everything okay?
Yeah, we're doing good. My asthenia gravis is a learning curve, that's for sure. I'm asking a question for one of the people in the chat, Angel Hart. Her question was, I think Carney is avoiding to debate Pierre Poilievre, 18 days till election, and no one's talking about it. I find it very strange, and it is unusual to have elections without at least two debates.
I haven't really paid too much attention to it. I think there is a debate, at least one. I think there was the French debate, though, right? And then that was canceled. Why was that canceled again? That was because somebody couldn't
speak French. I think it was Carney that wasn't too good in his French, and he decided he wasn't going to do it.
Oh, no, it was the money. He wasn't going to do it because of, I think it was what was the fee, 30 grand?
Really?
Yeah. That the network wanted from each of the candidates to participate, and he said no. And then Poilievre came out and said, well, we'll give you the money if you debate. First he said he was going to do it. Then Carney said he wouldn't. So he flipped and flopped within hours on the one day. And it was supposed to be about the money. I don't know. I'm just going to check here how many debates there are going to be.
You're very welcome, Angel Hart. I see you in the chat.
Just finding out here. 2 confirmed debates. There is a French language debate, I guess, coming up on the 16th, and then the English debate will be on the 17th. They're both, I don't know about that one, though, that French one. I think that was canceled.
Yeah, I believe it was canceled. It had to do with the language barrier.
Yeah. Let me just double check.
They're dishing your French again.
Yeah.
I'm from Quebec too, there, Dragon. I don't really care for the French debates because it gets lost in translation.
No, there was a third. There was
well.
a third debate on TVA. It was French. It was supposed to be a French debate on a program called Face to Face, and that was the one that was canceled. And there was a $75,000 fee.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Oh, I think so too. I don't think they should charge them anything. They should get sponsors and, pay for it. Although even then, when it comes to politics, if you get a sponsor, even it'd have to be some neutral companies. I'm sure they sell advertising around it anyway, but
probably.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to let everybody know this in the chat. You don't hear me too often. You don't see me. I'm there. Sometimes I'm there and you don't know I'm there, but I'm still with you. And if I'm not with you, thank you for all the prayers. And if I can call in, you guys can call in too. It just takes a finger and a dial tone.
Yeah. That's right. Well, I'm glad you did call in tonight.
Everybody's views are important. And we have an election coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We need that importance to get out there.
Yeah. Well, now more than ever because the country is at a crossroads,
Extreme crossroads.
Yeah. So
and this is one election that really matters.
Sure does. And I wish I knew who the good guys and the bad guys were, but honestly, right now I don't know.
You know what I'm concerned about, Rick?
What's that?
Like, even though we don't know if there was anybody who was getting any funding from China in our government, those people that were implicated, those names should have been released to us so we know who not to vote for, or if we still want to vote for them.
I don't know. The whole thing is so weird, isn't it? Like,
it is.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Like, they've got this at a blank. You've got the entire Canadian citizen public out there knowing that there are people that were implicated, then not implicated, then implicated again, and those names are left blank to us.
Yeah.
And we have an election coming up in 2 weeks.
And
I think those names should have been disclosed to the public.
And if they're not going to disclose the names, I think the people deserve a better explanation as to why. Yeah. A real reason. This is too murky. I don't get it either. It's strange.
No, and this Trump tariffs on, tariffs off, that's very sketch in itself.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much confusion going on with this. That
Remember what I said on the chat yesterday, Linda? I said something along the way that it smelled fishy. And why did I say that it was smelling fishy? I'm not an economist, but I got some logic, and something looks pretty bad here.
Yeah, we have a lot of things going on that's just very confusing.
There's no way this is like good for the economy. There's no way this on again, off again tariff stuff is good for the people. There's just no way.
And it makes me seriously wonder: is he not playing around with everybody? Like, this is 100% head games that's going on.
Yeah.
Because if you sit back and you watch everything that's out there, it's very, very confusing. You're like, okay, we got tariffs, but we don't have tariffs. Then you've got politicians that are saying, fight, fight, fight. Well, these are Trump's words. Why are they mimicking him? And then you've got one politician out there that doesn't even have a damn seat. And he's like, the other countries, no tariffs. That doesn't make sense.
I was listening to someone yesterday and actually on YouTube, and he said something along the way that, what Trump is doing is basically creating uncertainty to help the market to crash to a certain degree, right? But the thing is that
I'm seeing all over is the same thing, Dragon, is that they're literally saying that he's trying to assist the markets in crashing. But then at the same time, he comes back and pulls those tariffs back and the markets bounce back again. It's like, I can take it from you and I can give it to you all in the same shot.
But at the same time, what it creates, like I was about to make the point too, is that it creates fears toward the one who has some incentive. So you don't want to buy nor sell. You're being
I'm not
basically
afraid, though.
paralyzed by fear of the uncertainty of the economy, that how it's going to crash or not. So that's how people now react, and that's why you get basically buyers or sell what we call a panic buyers or seller. So basically, they buy or sell in panic.
Yeah, just like they did with the lockdowns. Everybody was out buying toilet paper because they were afraid. Yeah, but I'm not afraid at all, Dragon. The way I look at it is these are politicians playing mind games on us all, and we need to be able to read between the lines of all of these people.
It's the strangest of times. It's the strangest of times.
But I'm going to let you guys go, and hopefully some others call in. Come on, guys. You've had me with prayers right, left, and center all this time. Now I'm praying for you guys to call in and put your views in. So have a good night, Rick.
Thank you, Linda.
And you too, Dragon. And Con, I want to hear some more calls from the chat and Rumble. You guys are the best chat I have out there. And you know yous are good. You can chat up a storm in there. You can do it online. You can call in. Have a good night, Rick.
All right, thanks, Linda. See ya. Yeah, it is weird, man. It's been like a yo-yo and or a roller coaster, maybe a roller coaster with whiplash. I've never seen anything like this, and it just makes you wonder what the real motivation is behind a lot of this stuff, you know?
Yeah, well, the first one that come in mind to me, it's manipulation of your mind. It's the way that, you know, people that have a lot of money to put into basically
That had an 88% increase.
Here, look at
if you get a lot of money into that system, you might lose a lot of money, like win a lot. But that's the thing. They want to grab you by the balls with that.
I have to say, I found this clip from yesterday, which I posted on our Twitter account. I found this really, frankly, distasteful, a little bit offensive, and it made me wonder about Trump because it just smacked of attitude. Let me play it for you.
The first 4 years, we had the most successful country in history in terms of economics. We had an 88% increase in the stock markets. We had an 88% increase. There's never been any president that had an 88% increase. We had 88%, and there were a lot of happy people. And I think we're going to do much better than that this time, because this time I'm doing what I want to do with respect to the tariffs. I think we're going to do much better. And just remember the numbers. When you get up to $2 billion a day, $2 billion a day, they're saying, sir, can't be that, can it? I said, yeah, it can. It's the biggest transaction ever made. This is bigger than any deal. You guys, some of you work for companies. Your companies are peanuts. I don't care how big they are. Compared, this is the largest transaction in the history of our country. And don't let some of these politicians go around saying, you know, because I'm telling you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my ass. They are dying to make a deal. Please, sir, make a deal. I'll do anything. I'll do anything, sir. And then I'll see some rebel Republican, you know, some guy that wants to grandstand, say, I think that Congress should take over negotiations. Let me tell you, you don't negotiate like I negotiate. Congress takes over negotiating, sell America fast because you're going to go busted. You don't. I just saw it today. A couple of your congressmen said, I think we should get involved in the negotiation of the tariffs. Oh, that's what I need. I need some guy telling me how to negotiate. I tell you, the happiest people in the world would be China. They wouldn't be paying 104%. I tell you, they'd be paying no percent. We'd be paying them 104%. That's the beauties. These guys, we gotta be careful. And even the concept of it hurts your negotiation. When they see a little story like that, the other side, you know, it hurts your negotiation. And then the fake news wants to build it up, and it has no chance anyway. But we have to remain united. As I defend workers,
it's just, is that what he wants? He wants people to like just bow down to him and kiss his butt? Like, is that what this is about? Like, it's bizarre.
Well, look at it the way sometimes you say it yourself. Listen to what he doesn't say. What did he say in that statement? Basically, he was giving you the layout of what he's doing. He's playing with the market and making the big buck with it by taking $2 billion, he said, in one day.
Yeah, and if it's such a great thing, then why did he pause them for 90 days again? Like, and this is like one day to the next, right? We're going to take in this. It's a great thing. It's the best thing ever. We're going to take in $2 billion a day. It's the best deal I ever made. And then the next day, oh, well, we better pause them for 90 days because it's such a great idea. We better put it on hold. It doesn't make any bloody sense. And then this also here, this is like, let me see if I can get this up on the screen for you. In fact, you know what? Oh, I just screwed that up, didn't I? Wow. What did I do there? Hang on. Let me clean that up. You know what? Let me take a little break here, Dragon, and I'm going to come right back, and then we're going to play this thing from Kevin O'Leary with regard to all this. Hang on. Don't go away. We shall return. Here's the number to call. Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. Okay. Let me get this Kevin O'Leary clip up here for you. This one... I'll get you to give me your reaction to it, I guess. Here we go. So here's O'Leary on tariffs in China.
104% tariffs in China are not enough. I'm advocating 400%. I do business in China. They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it, sell it back here. Never has an administration...
400% tariffs? What would that look like?
I want Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. This is not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP that have been stolen by the Chinese. I have nothing against the Chinese people. They brought great literacy, art, and tech to the world. The government cheats and steals, and finally, an administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough. 400% tariffs tomorrow morning. He'll tell you why. Xi can only stay the supreme leader if people are employed. If we wipe out any business there, because we are still 39% of all consumables on Earth and 25% of the world's GDP, America is the #1 economy on Earth with all the cards. We will not have that forever. It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
Well,
I'm
hold
not
on
talking
a
about
second,
tariffs
Kevin.
on
Well, I hear you, but hold on. If we're talking about people the average consumer, not necessarily the head honchos of businesses all across the globe. Can they withstand the pressure of that sort of tax on the goods?
It's short-lived. There will be.
But what's your timeline compared to, you don't know the average American's timeline, what they can actually survive. There's people right now who can't survive
400% tomorrow morning, cheese on an airplane to Washington to cut a deal.
What do you think?
Yeah, well, she made a good point. I mean, if you do tariff of 400% or whatever to China, consumers ain't going to buy anything.
And
so that's no good.
You can't do
to
that.
a certain extent.
That's a great way to get clicks, get people to watch, build ratings, to say things like that. But a 400% tariff across the board, if that's what he's really talking about, forget it. You can't do that with China, especially not right now, because too much of what the United States consumes comes from China. You can't do that. And, I mean, heading in, to the election, the presidential election, I was okay with the idea of Trump tariffs because I thought what we were going to get was targeted tariffs against particular products that were identified as products that were being dumped into the U.S. and maybe the Canadian markets, things like electric vehicles, which are unfairly heavily subsidized in China so that they're priced actually below the cost of production in order to make them so cheap that they flood the market here, and they're aimed at really putting or like destroying the auto industry here. That's really what they're trying to do with that, but to do it across the board with everything. Now, also, there is justification for going after China on many of the issues that Kevin O'Leary illustrates in his little soliloquy there. Because the Chinese do steal, right? They steal technology, they steal patents, they violate copyright and patent law all the time. They don't care. They're immune from prosecution. They produce all kinds of goods after they've stolen this intellectual property and then they sell it around the world. So there's justification for retaliation there on those fronts. But at the same time, you have to be realistic because it's not China's fault that they built their economy the way they did and that they've developed their manufacturing base. It's largely the fault of the United States itself and Western countries because we have outsourced production to them. Our companies were encouraged to ship production overseas because the cost of production was so much lower. They could then import it back into the market here, sell it at a higher price, a higher marked up price, because the U.S. economy, the U.S. market is a premium market where wages are higher, the standard of living is higher, people can afford to pay more for goods and services, and so you can charge higher prices because there's more demand for the products that are shipped into the market. More demand means that you can charge a higher price. And you can sell products of higher quality as well. So it's not the fault of the Chinese. It's not the fault of workers in Vietnam or Mexico or Cambodia that they're working in these factories producing these goods at super low cost, working honestly for a fraction of what U.S. and Canadian workers are willing to work for. It's our fault because we consume the goods that are super cheap. If it wasn't for them, we'd be paying a whole lot more. And Trump is just upsetting the entire apple cart. But he's saying that it's their fault, that he's going to punish them because they've been ripping off America. No. Everything we've been consuming, in large part, we've been consuming it in a lot of ways because of debt financing. We're buying it on borrowed money and then blaming them for it's a crazy idea what he's saying. that all being said, there are other ways to fix the economy and even the trade imbalance without just taking a wrecking ball to everything. You don't have to do it this way. And I don't even know what this way is anymore, because it's not just the tariffs. Now it's like on again, off again tariffs. It's like doing this in a car, like putting your foot on the accelerator full blast and then smashing on your brake, and then putting your foot on the accelerator again and then smashing on the brake. It's no way to drive a car. It sure as heck isn't any way to run an economy or a country. It doesn't benefit the people, but as we've alluded to, in this program tonight, I think it does benefit some really rich people who know when to buy and sell stocks. That is blatantly clear here, that what Trump is doing is, this is the guy who's worried about rigging everything, rigging the election. He's the one rigging everything. He's the one doing it. He's doing it right in front of us. It's just right out in the open. And he's telling the world, look at what I can do. I can make the market go up. I can make the market go down. I can control this country. And look at me. I'm so powerful. Other countries actually have to come here and kiss my you-know-what. Well, that's not good for the people, man. That might be, great for your little ego there, but that's not good for the country. Look at the damage he has done, Dragon. It's because, the market's coming back up, but look at the cost to even the auto companies because of the uncertainty. Stellantis shut down its Windsor factory for 2 weeks. You have a lot of Stellantis workers laid off in the United States because supply chains have been disrupted. That costs these companies, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in inefficiencies. It makes these companies less competitive on the world market because they're turning their production off. Now they're turning it back on again, off again. They don't know where to invest. They don't know whether they should be building more plants in the United States or if they are going to be okay and continue to produce in Canada and even Mexico because the supply chains are going to be maintained. It isn't clear from one day to the next. So who the hell is going to build a plant in the United States anyway? Because you don't even know. He can provide the incentive and or / the penalty using the carrot and sticks presented through tariffs in order to get these companies to try to build factories in the United States, but they're still not going to do it if you're putting the tariffs on again, off again within days. Who would invest, X billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars in a project if 6 months from now, though all the policies from the government could change 180 degrees? I wouldn't. I'd just put everything on pause, maybe for 4 years until you get somebody else in there and you get more stability. Markets don't like instability. And this ultimately will cost people their jobs if this continues any length of time. The instability, or even if he just leaves the tariffs in place. It's just crazy. It doesn't actually make sense. And this is not, 4D, 5D, 7D Trump chess. He's not that smart. This is, well, maybe he is, but in a sinister, evil way, maybe. This is not good.
Anyways, it is not. And if you had the fact that you can mechanize basically the working force like you laid out yesterday, you're not going in a good direction when you want to have some people working, because they're going to be working for probably 6 months, and then the machine's going to take over.
Well, like we said last night, the factories of the future, even if they did repatriate production, manufacturing, the factories that are set up here are going to be more automated than ever, and in some cases may not have any workers other than a few maintenance staff once they're constructed. And any of the construction jobs, the millwrights, the electricians, the carpenters, the just all the different workers to build these factories, all those jobs, once those places are built, they're built. It's the long-term jobs is what you're really after. And they're not going to be there really, but We got into this a little bit last night. Automated factories. I can understand why any country would want automated factories back on their domestic soil, because then that productive capacity adds to your GDP, your gross domestic product. And once you've got that productive capacity within your borders, you can then tax that and use that tax revenue to fund your social programs. And even though they may be automated, once we get into the future, it's going to be much better to have an automated factory producing domestically than to have an automated factory in another country someplace producing goods that you then have to purchase. But if you don't have the ability to tax that in some capacity, like tax it as a product produced by you, for you, through you, at domestically, you want those funds to stay local, like inside your country. You see what I'm saying? You want that productive capacity also. You need the production to happen domestically so that as those goods are sold, the full economic benefit comes back to the country, not only through taxation, but through the profits. You need the profits here so you can tax them here. Profit tax, various kinds of taxes against the companies, the owners of that productive capacity, those who own the means of production. You following what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
Basically, it falls back to the power of economy or of buying. The more you do, the more you produce, the more you can buy, the more you can produce. You can be active into the rolling of the economy, basically.
That being said, it's still important to recognize that economics is not a zero-sum game. It's wrong think on the part of Trump to take the position that the United States needs to bring back all the production here. That you have to produce every little screw, every door hinge, every lug nut for a car has to be made in America, right? You need all the production to come back. No, you need other countries to be prosperous as well, because you need customers for your products. You can export your products as well so that you can provide a better standard of living for your citizens domestically. And the more you can export, the higher the standard of living in your country too. And the U.S. does export products, but it's just not right now because it is a premium economy and wages are higher. The United States produces like really high-end product in a lot of cases, not the least of which is arms, weapons, fifth generation warfare, fifth generation fighter jets. That's the kind of product that is produced here, not T-shirts. But if he's focused on just bringing T-shirts back, and people think, what do you want? You want Trump to set up sweatshops so that people can work here for $2 a day or $1 a day, like they do in those other countries? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, that's not the path forward. That's not the future.
No.
So, anyway, I'm babbling at this point. So, that being said, we're now up to the top of the next hour. So, Dragon, I'm just going to throw it over to you, sir, for a final thought tonight. And then we will wrap up with whatever song you pick to close off the program this evening.
Well, on the final thought, I will tell you all, guys, and ask you with all the politeness that I can find, that on the upcoming election, even though you think that your vote ain't going to do nothing, please don't think this way. Because whatever you're going to vote for, it's going to matter. And if you want something to change, I'm not going to tell you to vote for Poilievre or to vote for PPC or whoever, but I'm going to tell you, just vote. Put your name on something, put that little hex or, just square that little thing there, and make sure that your name is on the toll so everyone can be counted.
There you go. So what's your musical request for this evening, sir?
You know what? Because Trump likes to come back on his words, let's go with the orangutan.
The orange orangutan. Okay. It shall be so. Thank you, Dragon, for bringing up the rear here tonight and taking us into the home stretch. I appreciate your contribution as always and your thoughts, and thank you to all of those of you who are in the chat tonight offering constructive conversation. Special thank you to Linda, and welcome back, and I'm glad things are looking better on the home front there for you and your family. And to all you and yours, thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you. And very humbling, I have to say, the words of support from yesterday. I will see everybody back here tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the
flip side.
Monkey see, monkey do. Vladimir Putin's making a fool out of you. Once a deal maker, now just a shouter. Used to shake hands, now it's all about power. You turn your back on your friends and your allies too. You betrayed the spirit of the red, white, and blue. Oh, orange orangutan man, swinging through the world with a heavy hand. Tearing up treaties, slapping on tariffs, throwing tantrums like a billionaire sheriff. Tally it down, don't stop it, man, you beast, you critter. Orange orangutan man. Donald Trump 1.0 had a plan. Now Donald J. Trump 2.0's a wrecking man. Used to make deals, now you just sneer. Ruling through fear, grinning ear to ear. Canada's not for sale, Greenland ain't yours. Gaza's not a playground, quit making wars. Bluffing and puffing with the wig on tight. Acting like a boss, but you lost the fight. The art of the deal, man, that ship sunk. Now it's all about rage and a nuclear funk. Orange orangutan man, swinging through the world with a heavy hand. Tearing up treaties, slapping on tariffs, throwing tantrums like a billionaire sheriff. Dial it down, don't stop it, man, you beast, you critter. Orange orangutan man. You're fired. No, you're just bananas.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.